Today on the news and why it matters, Kamala Harris wants President Trump's Twitter account suspended over his whistleblower tweets. Also, Maxine Waters says Trump should not only be suspended from Twitter, I don't know, she didn't say that, but she did say he should be in solitary confinement. Got a lot coming up on the show. It starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by Mr. Stu Burgier, co-host of the Glenn Beck radio program. Hello, Stu.
Hello, how are you?
I am amazing. How are you?
Very good to hear, and I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay, great. We've got Chad Prather, host of the Chad Prather Show.
We're very denim today. Look at that.
A lot of denim.
Oh, yeah, I'm denim. I'm also party time mom.
Party time, Mom!
I've got a party time.
Look at
Party
that
time
thing
mom.
right there.
Party
That's
time
my
mom. Tank
face
top.
on her
Wow,
shirt.
I have no clue.
Party time mom tank top. Oh, gosh. You can find it at shop.theblaze.com under Chad Prather Apparel.
There's some cool
Anyway,
stuff there.
there is. It's triggering a lot of people, so you got to go to shop.theblaze.com. We've also got Mr. Zuby from the UK. Zuby is a rap. You just do everything. I don't even. I'm like Zuby is a rapper. He's also like a fitness.
Entrepreneur,
Yeah,
he's a fitness author.
Right.
He's
I don't even know how do I even introduce you?
Public figure. How about that?
Public figure.
Public figure. Zuby. Tell me how you say your last name.
Udezwe.
Desway.
Yeah,
It's
you got
interesting
it.
that being a rapper and in the fitness world that we haven't crossed paths more. That's just it's really where it's my lane, you know?
Yeah. Doing a good job staying in it.
Before we get into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. So, my son, he's 7, you guys know, and he had never seen a firearm in real life. I know, don't send me hate mail, okay? I was a single mom for a while, and I just wanted to keep my gun in my safe, and I was too nervous about
For
it.
your Second Amendment rights.
Well, there's always going to be someone who's like, you should have taught him sooner. Well, guess what? Over the weekend, we pulled out my .380 and we put the iTarget in my .380 and let him shoot at the target, and he was really good. And he asked me multiple times, can we please put real bullets in this? And I said, no.
That's not how it
That's
works.
not what we're doing
I feel like
here.
I'm in Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Welcome to Texas,
Okay,
Zuby.
there we go.
But iTarget Pro, in all seriousness, it is the way to train if you want to really learn your weapon. You want to really learn your firearm because, you know, dry firing, it's the best way to learn. You've got to learn the pull. You've got to learn the ways of the gun. My .380, I know it's really small. You guys make fun of me all the time, but it's got a really long pull. And unless you're constantly practicing with it, you're constantly training, it's going to throw you off. So iTarget Pro, it pays for itself because you don't have to go to the range, spend money on ammunition, range fees. You can just train at home and really learn your gun, know your craft. You can go to itargetpro.com, use promo code NEWS, and you will get 10% off plus free shipping. That is itargetpro.com, promo code NEWS. Again, welcome to Texas, Zuby. I hope we didn't offend you.
No.
You are
triggers.
from the UK.
I am.
Where they ban like screwdrivers and hammers and also guns. So.
Well, yeah, screwdrivers and hammers I think are still allowed. I don't know if you'd be allowed to carry them out in public though, unless you.
But what if
are
you're?
a
But
workman.
what if you bought them from the hardware store and you're carrying them
I
home?
think you might need to keep them packaged up. I'm not sure, and you might need a receipt on you.
You get an exemption if you have a receipt.
Yeah, I think you might need a receipt.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the rules are on that actually, but I would recommend carrying the receipt.
Okay, so Kamala Harris. She's very mad about President Trump tweeting about the whistleblower. He basically said the whistleblower report, it's a fraud. This is a fake report. Nothing of what the whistleblower said happened actually happened. And Kamala Harris, very upset about the First Amendment, about freedom of speech. Here is what she had to say to Anderson Cooper about suspending Trump's Twitter watch.
Frankly, when you look at what he's been tweeting today, directed at the whistleblower, directed at so many people, I frankly think that based on this and all we've seen him do before, including attacking members of Congress, that he frankly should be, his Twitter account should be suspended. I think there is plenty of now evidence to suggest that he is irresponsible with his words in a way that could result in harm to other people. And so the privilege of using those words in that way should probably be taken from him.
Still.
This is a difficult concept for me to understand. These Democrats keep doing the same thing, which is, Biden was like, oh, don't let Giuliani on the air, and now don't take his Twitter away. Trump talking more is your friend if you're a Democrat, right? Like you take you take Trump's tweets out of this, you're down by 20 points, right? Like then you're just left with the guy's policies, and he's probably winning easily.
Right.
If I were a Democratic candidate, I would be arguing for like webcams in the Oval Office. I would want a TV camera on him all the time because the more Trump says, it's really the problem. I mean, people really don't like his tone at times, and they don't like these sorts of things, and it pisses off a bunch of people kind of in the middle that are otherwise friendly to his policies. Yeah, you know, this sort of concept that everybody on the left likes to do, which is just shut down people from speaking, is so the opposite of what it used to be. We used to always hear that they were the ones that cared about free speech, and we were the ones shutting everybody down because of content. It seems to have gone the opposite way. I mean, the idea that you'd want to stop the president of the United States from making statements about what he believes is important. You might think what he says is important is stupid. You might think he's lying, and you have the ability to go out there and argue against it. But you don't. This is the United States of America. We're not shutting people up. Let people speak. More words, more voices, the better.
Yeah. What happened to give them enough rope and let them hang themselves, right? Oh, boy. I tend to think that Anderson Cooper's a reasonably intelligent human being. And so when I see his face while people are saying these things, I just can like hear his brain and what he's thinking. Like, oh, dear God, this is my job to listen to this stuff. No, I'm with you, Stu. I'd say turn him loose. Let him tweet. I'd make, you want a reality show president? Let's follow him around with a camera. You know, it'd be the Trump show. Just thank God that Trump doesn't drink alcohol. Because can you imagine Trump in the middle of the night sitting on the toilet with his spray tan and his Speedo lines, and he's talking about, ooh, crazy Chuck Schooner. I remember when he used to bust tables at my resort in Marco Polio. I mean, that would be classic. So listen, conservatives, if you're a Trump supporter, just be glad, you know, he's up all night not sleeping, not drinking.
I'm telling you. I have to believe drunk Trump he's just going to be a complete 180, and he will be just all of a sudden
You're right.
well-mannered, reserved.
Madam Secretary, Madam Speaker. But here, just wait. You think Kavanaugh was bad? Wait till you see Judge Don Jr. Listen, my wife, you know, people always say, well, I like Trump, I just don't like his tweets. I've never heard anybody say, I love his people say, I love his policies, I hate his tweets.
Like his tweets.
I've never heard people say, I love his tweets. But I hate his policies.
There's no people that exist in that world.
Not a single person said those words. So they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Zuby, your thoughts?
Wow. Yeah, I'm just struck by the authoritarian attitude of so many of these people who just want to deplatform, silence, just shut people down all the time. It's just become the go-to thing. Like this whole thing, everything's just get rid of that person, get rid of that person. We don't like their ideas, we don't like their words, get rid of them, get rid of them. And it's amazing to me. I mean, it seemed like if you were to go back a couple decades ago, this is the kind of thing that people more on the right side of the political spectrum, especially kind of Christian conservative types, you know, when it came to like, you know, someone who comes from the entertainment world. I'm a musician, I'm a rapper, okay? I do remember when rappers and heavy metal artists and certain types of films and stuff and video games, there were all these pressure groups and picketing and stuff going on because people wanted to shut that down and shut down free speech and censor this and censor that. And it used to come more so from, a little bit from both sides, but it seemed to lean more towards a conservative line of thinking. And that's what people used to really criticize, especially more liberal people, kind of like, oh, look, they're just trying to shut down everything they don't like or that disagrees with or that criticizes them. And over the decades, that's just switched around now. Now it's people more on the, you know, center right that are like, oh, cool, like we'll just talk. We'll talk to anybody. We'll talk to everybody. We're not trying to, we may not like this person's ideas or we may disagree with them or not like them personally, but we're not going to try to get them kicked off Twitter or get them fired from their workplace or do this or do that. And it's just constantly happening now. And so I just find it remarkable that I mean, everything she was saying there, like I don't like to criticize individuals, but everything she was saying there, I was just like, this can be applied to you, right? Yeah. There are people who will be following your Twitter feed or listening to what you're saying, and we're thinking, I don't like this woman's ideas. She's this, she's that. Like she shouldn't be allowed to be on Twitter. And as soon as you start going down that line, it just shows a lack of principle, right? With me, I'm just always about the principles, right? Even if I disagree with someone, let them talk, you know? You
say that you don't like to criticize individuals. But I wonder, is that part of the issue here? Because, you know, you notice Kamala Harris says Trump's words could be used in a way that could result in harm.
What's that even mean?
And it's like, right, like that's not, is he going to do something? Or are you saying his words are going to be used by someone else? Because everyone is responsible for themselves, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It's this idea that people will just hear something someone says on YouTube or read something someone says on Twitter, and they'll go out and they'll attack somebody and they'll harm somebody. And it's ridiculous because you have had people on any side or no side of the political spectrum who have, done bad stuff and claimed it's for that thing, right? You've had, I know in the past wasn't there a Bernie Sanders supporter who went and, shot some people?
Yes.
You've had, so you've had all kinds of things. So it'll be, if a Trump supporter does that, or someone who likes Trump's Facebook page or something does that, they'll come down heavily on it and say, oh, this is, they'll connect these weird dots and make these huge leaps and say, oh, this is because Trump one time tweeted this or that, and they'll jump to these leaps rather than saying, okay, this was a crazy person who did a crazy thing. Just like it would be silly to say, oh, that guy did that, so Bernie Sanders is responsible, or like the whole left is responsible or whatever. It's silly to have someone on the opposite side do something ridiculous and say, oh, that's because of Trump, or that's because of, everyone on the right wing supports this or whatever. People are still pointing to things at Charlottesville as if most normal conservatives or everybody to the right of the aisle supported that, or what, it's like I've seen zero people ever say that rally and what happened at it was a good thing or was representative. Like everybody condemned that, nobody condoned it, and people are still saying, oh, well, what about Charlottesville? What about Charlottesville? And it's just really dishonest, just like it would be dishonest to take some of the crazy stuff that a group like Antifa does and say, oh, well, all liberals are supporting this. You're all complicit. And it's just like, no, right? People are responsible.
True. Although I will say it's hard to get a Democratic lawmaker to
condemn them.
denounce.
Yeah, that's the irony.
Yeah.
That's the irony. Everybody, all conservatives denounced the stuff that happened.
Including Trump.
Everybody.
In the full context of what he said.
Multiple times.
Everybody denounced it. But then it's like they're not willing to do the same thing on the other side. And to me, that just tells me a lot about principles, right? Because it should be principles. It should be fair treatment. Like, okay, if our guy does it, let's not pretend it's fine because they're on our side, right? Let's not defend our radicals and our extremists. And how about you don't do the same thing, and then we can talk like adults and not shut people down,
right?
Which helps to radicalize them anyway. I don't know. It's like a weird loop.
Well, no, I just, obviously they came out with the tweet the other day and everything gets twisted where it says, well, if something happens to this whistleblower, then the blood is on the hands of Trump. Oh my gosh, this twisting and turning and this conniving idea
Jeffrey
of logic
Epstein would like to have a word, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, where do you stop all of this stuff? I mean, the pinpointing and the blaming and all of these things that are on there just gets really just boring after a while. I think we alluded to it on yesterday's show about him saying this could cause a Civil War type fracture, and people are saying, oh my God, he's calling for bloodshed in the streets.
It really is ridiculous. And one other thing I think that's interesting to add on to this is that, we just had a court ruling that said Trump is not allowed to block someone on Twitter, but we want to remove his entire account from Twitter. Like, wouldn't that be just in and of itself against what we now understand the Constitution to state? You can't tell him that he can't block people, but then also cannot get his message out in any other way. It's just a ridiculous idea, though. And look, Kamala Harris is at a point in her campaign where there's just real desperation setting in, right? Like, I mean, she's trying to make news. She's given it a whirl here. She's now switching out campaign operatives. I mean, it hasn't worked, right? So she's trying new things. She's in that Beto stage where now you just kind of come out with whatever crazy idea. What's the news story of the day? Let me go 2 steps beyond everybody else, and hopefully I can get on television to say it.
It's a female Beto.
Oh God, that is. You don't want to be the female Beto. You don't want to be the female
You don't want to be the male Beto.
No, definitely not.
All right, coming up next, Maxine Waters. Again, she wants to tell you why Trump should be in solitary confinement. Also, Secretary Mike Pompeo hits back against the House Democrats' effort to bully and intimidate the State Department officials. We'll be back.
MP!
So what they you're just saying MP.
That's my Maxine.
Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So apparently, there's like millions of Americans who just walk around in constant pain thinking that that's life. What is the statistics to? 66%?
Yeah, it's like 2/3. Yeah, people who think that who have like pain every day think there's just really no possibility
No
of ever
way
turning
out.
that around. So that's just their existence. It's
so
really
depressing.
sad. No wonder why everyone's annoyed on Twitter. This finally explains it.
Yeah, it really does. But Relief Factor is there for those of you who you're one of those people. You're one of those people who's like, well, this is just life. 40, I injure myself sleeping at night because I wake up and all of a sudden I've got a crick in my neck and my knees bother me and I don't know anything, any other way of life. All right, you got to try Relief Factor. Relief Factor is 100% drug-free. It's 4 key ingredients that target the inflammation in your body, which you don't realize it because you're using, Band-Aids all the time. But the inflammation is what is the root cause of the pain in your body. So if you are one of the many who you just live in pain, maybe you had a car accident, maybe you just have back problems, maybe you were in the military and your knees just don't work like they used to anymore, you got to try Relief Factor. Go get the Quick Start Pack. It is 3 weeks. It's $19.95. If you try that and it doesn't work for you, okay, great, you're out $20. But 70% of the people who try this Quick Start Pack go on to keep ordering more. It's working for that many people. It can work for you if you have not already. It's life-changing. Trust me, I was in a car accident. I had those back problems. It's worked for me. Go to relieffactor.com or you can call 800-500-8384. That is relieffactor.com. So our good friend of the program, Maxine Waters, shout out Maxine, I know you watch the program every day. She went a step farther than Kamala Harris. She said, I'm calling on the GOP to stop Trump's filthy talk of whistleblowers being spies and using mob language, implying they should be killed. Impeachment is not good enough for Trump. He needs to be imprisoned and placed in solitary confinement. But for now, impeachment is the imperative. So there's a lot of mental gymnastics, I feel, to get to the solitary confinement.
I'm a little disappointed that wasn't a statement by Beto, right? Like, this is Beto's role right now in the campaign, is to take whatever news issue you have and go a few steps beyond. I mean, Maxine is doing Beto's work for him.
But she has been the whole time of his presidency.
Yeah.
I mean, she has been saying this stuff since before he got inaugurated.
Wasn't she also the one who was encouraging people to go harass Trump, administration officials at restaurants and gas stations?
Get in their faces.
Which is much more direct than anything that I've heard, at least from a Trump administration official about the whistleblower. I mean,
people actually acted on it, didn't they?
Yes,
yeah, people actually did. Yeah,
they did. So, Chad, what are your thoughts on her comment that? Can you pull the tweet back up?
Mr. Producer, I want to go Mark Levin on you for just a
Pull
minute.
the tweet back up.
Mr. Producer, show us the tweet.
By using mob language and implying they should be killed. Now, I assume that what she's talking about are his comments that, what we used to do to, spies and traitors back in the day. You know what we do to people who commit treason, which is, that's Trump. Right?
Trump.
He says things.
It's also Maxine.
It's also Maxine.
It is Maxine.
So, okay, if impeachment is not good enough for Trump, he needs to be imprisoned, and not only imprisoned, that's not good enough.
Right.
He needs to be placed in solitary confinement.
Like, she wants to like micromanage the daily travel in prison of what he's doing.
He should be fed once. He should be
Don't give him steak.
General population.
Steak but no ketchup.
Yes, exactly.
Trump
Medium
needs
rare.
a boyfriend. I mean, you're saying Trump's filthy language he shouldn't say this, but now let me give you my filthy language and tell you what I think should happen to this man. Oh, the humanity. It's like people should be able to see, but they can't. Should be able to see a little bit of the humor in how Trump trolls. Because he really is. He's just like, hey, what we used to do to these guys? Hey. We used to go out there and hang them in the street. Yeah, that's what we used to do. Well, we don't do that anymore. Good luck, guys. I mean, most people with a sense of humor should be able to see that. Now, should we expect that from a president? Probably not. Is that something we want from a statesman? Probably not. Does a leader of the free world need to use sarcasm in something that's read where you can put emotion at any place in the sentence and a stress on any word and change the meaning? Probably not. But if you get it, you get it. And like Stu said, that's just Trump.
Well, and it is interesting, Zuby, because Bill Weld went out and said that Trump should be executed for treason
Oh, wow.
over this whole Ukraine scandal.
Again, he's like
Wow.
9 steps beyond Beto in desperation level
Wow.
at this
He
point.
is. He
Bill,
is.
so he's, yeah.
But he doesn't get pushback from
Well,
this.
I mean, because
right?
no one even knows who he is, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
He's going on the mainstream media and saying these things.
he can't, I mean, look, he's an
Don't you be a Bill Weld
He's
apologist
a
on my show.
constant, think about this. He's a constant Trump critic, and he's been on TV like 3 times in the last year. Like, I mean, anybody can get on TV being a constant Trump critic. Bill Weld is a non-factor, as I think we would all.
I'm
recognize
changing my
in this
career.
race.
Trump's made a lot of jobs, man.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
No, for real. Like,
Yeah.
no, seriously. Like, the amount of people whose entire jobs and livelihood now are based on either, you know, I mean, you both on the pro and the anti side, right? But I mean, being a Trump hater is a legit job. It has been for a couple of years now, where that's all they do. That's all they talk about. You've got people who just follow him on Twitter just so everything he writes, they can come on and give their little spiel. And it's just weird, man. Like, Trump derangement syndrome is a very, very real thing. It's not. When I first heard that thing, I was like, that's kind of funny. Like, yeah, they've got. And I've come to the point where I'm like, no, this is real. Like, this is a mental situation. There's a mental condition here where people cannot interpret anything else in any other way, and just have it's like you said, it's like reading stuff three or 4 steps beyond whatever was said, right? A great example would have been the Baltimore comment.
Yeah.
When he said Baltimore's rat infested. And people implied racism from that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
If someone tells me a place is rat infested, I'm like, it's probably infested by rats. That's
dang, there's probably rats there.
that's what my mind comes to, right? My brain doesn't go to, oh, he said that, and that place has a large non-white population, so therefore he's referring to them as rats. So therefore,
Who are you going to think is racist in that instance?
the person who's made the rat
Made the
equals
connection,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. That's what I thought. I remember just seeing that thing blowing up on Twitter, and I was like, wait, what? Like, how have you gone from that to that?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to me, and it's like the people who have this mind virus can't see that they're the ones who are making the inference, right? He never, like, if he'd said that, I'd be like, okay, that was clearly, but he used the word infested. I'm like, that's the word.
That's what you use when you're talking about rats.
Yeah,
You're
that's
talking
the
about
word. Like, cockroaches, rodents, like, that's what you say.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, they're so far down this road, and their lives are so dominated by him, and they so have their minds made up on everything that he does. I mean, if you think about, like, if we were to talk about, like, Jeffrey Dahmer, Larry Nassar, like some of the worst people in our society, right? And you ask them, here's something that they did. Why did they do it? We would all jump to the worst possible idea. Like, Jeffrey Dahmer did this because he wanted to kill people, right? That's what they do with Trump. Like, let's just say, for example, this whole Ukraine thing was not about whether Joe Biden did things with corruption and benefiting his family and billions of dollars flying around. Let's just say instead he was calling up the Ukrainian president because he believed Melania was cheating with some guy who was Ukrainian. And he was pissed off about it. And he wanted to get dirt on this guy. Well, all of us would sit back and say, well, that's totally inappropriate for a president to do, right? Because it's all personal interest. That's how the media sees this whole controversy. They can't see anything other than, well, he's just trying to trash Joe Biden and win an election. Well, wait a minute. This is the vice president of the United States in a controversy about our elections, about family benefiting. We're talking huge amounts of money, $50,000 a month for a guy with no experience. There's all sorts of legitimate red flags that people like the New York Times and MSNBC and CNN have all reported on as a real issue. Like, this is in the national interest. Does it align with his political interest? Yes. Is that part of it? Sure. But you can't just throw that out, and that's why it's easy for them to see this in this prism. They see him as basically Jeffrey Dahmer. So of course it's awful, but that's not the real, at least not the entire story.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute.
I don't think I know he said if he'd murdered people on Fifth Avenue, people would still vote for him.
Before we go into overtime, we want to make sure that you subscribe to Real Talk with Zuby. Zuby has his podcast. I feel like you've been enlightened. Zuby.
Enlightened?
Have you been enlightened by being here in the United States?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
You've learned how crazy the left has gotten.
Oh, but
I'm
you know what?
totally putting words in your mouth.
There's some disappointments,
5 seconds.
too, and we're going to talk about it in overtime.
Are we? Okay, Real Talk with Zuby. Go subscribe.